I'm Sean, and this is our 1967 Dodge Dart 270. It's got a 273 V8, started as a 2-barrel. We're going to convert it to a 4-barrel. What we have here is a Carter Competition 9635 4-barrel carburetor. Rated at 625 CFM, has manual secondaries, so no vacuum required. This particular one came with the linkages, there they are, the linkages for a Chevrolet, but we have since modified that to work with a MOPAR. That is currently sitting on top of a stock 1968 MOPAR single plane 4-barrel intake. I did not stumble over those words. This carburetor has been rebuilt with a carburetor kit and an upgrade kit from Mike's Carburetor Parts. All my research online suggested that they were the best place to get good quality carburetor rebuild parts. So we went that route. Carburetor's already been rebuilt. I ended up shooting some video of the process, and well, to be honest, I hated it, so gone. So we're starting this video with a fully rebuilt carburetor. This is what's going on. But before we get this put on, we've got to get the old intake and carburetor off and pull a few parts off. So let's go over there and take a look. So this is our current 2-barrel setup. Now, we need a couple of things off of here to make our 4-barrel setup work. The first of which is these 4 mounting studs for the carburetor. The second of which is this stud, which goes onto the linkage and allows us to attach the throttle cable and our kickdown cable. We're going to go ahead and get this carburetor pulled off, get the parts out of it, get the studs out of the intake manifold. Then we'll move on to getting the intake manifold pulled out and the gasket surfaces cleaned up and ready for our new unit. Please sit back and enjoy the music while we get this carburetor off. I think it's going to be easier to get these studs off once we've got the intake off. So let's work on that. turns off, pretty much everything is disconnected from the intake manifold. So, time to get this bad boy out of here. All right, our 2-barrel intake is out. Got a couple of microfiber towels in here to keep anything from falling down into the valley while we work on getting those studs out and getting the parts we need transferred over to the new manifold and carburetor. Now that that's done, it's time to get our parts moved over from our 2-barrel setup onto our 4-barrel setup. For now, we're going to set our 4-barrel intake off to the side and work just on the carburetor for now. So this is the piece that we needed for the carburetor. Now that that's switched over, let's go ahead and get our 2-barrel intake up here so that we can get the studs off. That's going to be fun. We're going to let those sit for a little bit and take ourselves a break. So to get these carb studs out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of the carb stud nuts. I'm going to run one on about halfway, and then I'm going to hold that one in place while I tighten down the second one. That should lock the 2 together and allow me to back the stud out. Let's see how that works. And just like that, our carb stud's down inside the manifold. Let's get the rest of these out and into our 4-barrel. Before we run the carb studs in, I've already got one in. I tested my theory. I went and I chased the threads to make sure that our carb studs won't have any problems mounting in. So let's get these in here. All right, with carb studs on, we can actually test fit our carb and see how well it works. There we are. One of the things that I was concerned about with this is, will my secondaries open or will they run into interference? So let's find out. There we go. Thought we were running into a little bit of interference at first. She's working good. We're not going to mount this on just yet. Let's get the intake on the car first. We've got some work to do before we do that. We have our carb studs swapped over. We have our carburetor mocked up, and we've tested it just to make sure that everything functions correctly, both the primaries and the secondaries open and close, and there's no interference. I was a little worried about that. And we're good to go. We're not going to bolt this down just yet. I don't want the carb on there when we put the intake in. Before we do that, though, we need to get our gasket surfaces nice and cleaned up. That way, we get a great seal when we put this thing back on. Once it's back on, we'll let our RTV set overnight. So Monday, hopefully we can get this thing out of the garage, fired up, and test it out. With that, we'll see you tomorrow. Well, it's Sunday, and none of the local parts stores can get me an intake gasket until tomorrow. With that, we're going to go ahead and call this part 1. Once I get the intake gasket, we'll go ahead and get our gasket surfaces cleaned up, get the intake sealed and on, and then we'll get her started up and work on tuning the carburetor. I hope you've enjoyed joining us on this project, and we hope to see you again soon. Again, if you have any comments, any concerns, leave them down below, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Goodbye. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to do.